This week we're talking about lodging options at Disneyland, including on-site hotels and all the hotels in Anaheim in the surrounding area.
Hello, dreamers of all ages, and welcome to Catch Us at the Castle.
I'm Steph Sweet.
And I'm Ed Pizza. Catch us at the Castle. Disneyland, which I am still affectionately referring to as your home park, has very unique lodging options and certainly much fewer on-site options in Disney the world. And so to really maximize it, Steph, you really have to know the landscape beyond those handful of properties that are quote unquote on-site hotels. And gosh, I mean, you know so many of them so well from all your time there.
Yeah, we've been making it a goal to try as many of the hotels around the area as we can to figure out which ones we like to stay at for whatever reasons. So let's start, should we, Ed, with the on-site hotels and talk about those really quickly?
Yeah, I think that's the best place to start for sure.
So our on-site options are the Disneyland Hotel, the Grand Californian Hotel, and then the Pixar Pier Hotel. Or the Pixar Hotel, which they've renovated recently, and it's very nice. Disneyland, they've also renovated recently. Grand California are expecting them to announce a renovation, but it hasn't been announced yet at all. It's in a need for a renovation. But if you can't tell where my preference is. I haven't stayed in the on-site hotels for a really long time. For me, the perks of staying on site at the Disneyland hotels aren't necessarily worth the price tag. And so I usually stay off-site. There are actually off-site hotels that are closer walking distance to the parks than the Disneyland Hotel or the Pixar Hotel. But let's talk about some of those perks first for staying on site. There aren't as many perks for staying on site at Disneyland as there is Disney World. You do get early entry, 30 minutes early entry into the parks. They alternate between California Adventure and Disneyland, with 4 days being California Adventure, 3 days being Disneyland, 30 minutes early. They also do have some, in the hotel, character meet and greets or different things like that throughout the year. It's just random. You never know if you're going to have that or not. And then one of the perks that is kind of really fun that they don't do necessarily at very many of the Disney World resorts is you do get, and from Grand California and the Pixar Hotel, you do get access to an entrance. With Pixar, you actually have to stay at that hotel to get access to that entrance into Grand California. Grand California, if you can get into the hotel, because they do limit the people that come in, you have to have a reservation. If you're coming in on foot or by car, you have to actually have a reservation staying there or eating there. And then you can use that back gate to get into downtown Disney or California Adventure if you have a reservation that day.
Yeah, and for folks who are staying at Grand Californian, just to note that it is a little bit of a hike to get from there to the entrance to the Disneyland park, as opposed to being able to just go right into the back of Grand Californian. And there's a whole slew of people that are coming through that walkway at Disney Springs to get to that same entrance that you are.
For sure, because that's where all of the parking garages are on that side. And so anyone parking is coming along that same way, as well as all of the hotel guests are. So I would really recommend taking advantage of that 30 minutes extra. Be to the gates before that 30 minutes starts. You actually want to be down to the end of Main Street when that 30 minutes starts so that you can show your room key. Or you want to be inside on California Adventure where the rope drop area is so you can show your room key at that 30-minute mark and maximize that time. All right, so we moved off-site. That's all we've got. On-site.
I know. And I'll tell you, I've been in the rooms at Grand California, never stayed overnight. I've stayed at Disneyland Hotel. That was how we got into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge when it debuted, because you had to have a night side a reservation. I haven't been in Pixar since it was renovated. Have you had a chance to see the renovated rooms?
Well, I haven't seen the renovated rooms. I've been inside because we've been in there. We went to an art exhibit and then I've eaten there as well. They've got a really good restaurant that I highly recommend that I can't think of the name of in the Pixar Pier Hotel. But Yeah, I've stayed in Disneyland before they were renovated. But I have friends that have stayed in the Disneyland hotel since the renovation. They've all loved it. And some of them were actual diehard Grand California people. And so they gave it a shot and they really liked it. So it worked out well for them.
Yeah, the only thing that I would mention before we go offsite is there are some Disney Vacation Club rooms on site. There, as somebody who's owned Disney Vacation Club since 2010 or 2011, these are some of the hardest rooms to get at Disneyland. Technically, if you own at Disney World, you can use your points at Disneyland, but typically by the time you get to the 7 month mark for when everybody has access, not just those people that own at those Disneyland resorts, pretty much everything is booked at that point. So there are other options, and you can rent Disney Vacation Club points from folks, but the number of DVC rooms at Disneyland is pretty constrained, and they're in pretty high demand.
Even with the new DVC tower that they just built, right?
The price for
Disneyland, the
those.
new,
Whew.
yeah. They're gorgeous. They're
Yes.
gorgeous. And you
Yeah.
can reserve those as a hotel room too. Right? That's how my friends have done it, is just reserving those as a hotel room. So amazing
Yeah,
options.
Pixar Place is definitely on my radar. I definitely want to notch a room there. Just the last two times, I think we went, and I think I was with you both times. I remember Molly, our mutual friend, was trying to get me to stay on site, and then she looked and saw that Pixar was $700 a night, and it was a very short discussion after that.
Yeah. That's typical for the on-site at Disneyland, and Grand
Yeah.
California is usually over $1,000 price point per night. So
Yeah.
that's why I don't stay on site.
Well, especially when you think about just given the sheer number of off-site hotels, which you're going to
Mhm.
launch us into, you're typically going to be looking at definitely sub $300 a night, and at certain
Yeah.
times a year you can get under $200 a night. So
You sure can,
uh,
man.
a pretty stark difference. A lot of points options as well.
Yep. So let's talk about those hotels. And that's usually when I'm going to Disneyland, I'm staying on points and using a free night, unless there's a really good rate. I have been able to get some of the hotels in the area for $150 a night, even $130 a night. The way that you get those good rates is you schedule out really far in advance. Once Disneyland starts announcing special events, once they announce the dates for Halloween, for Christmas, all of those things, the prices start going up. So any after hours, after Disney After Dark events, rates will go up for all of those. So you really just want to book far ahead of time before anything can get booked, and then cancel if you decide you're not going to go. But that will get you the best rates possible. And you can even just keep watching. But that's how I've been able to get my $130 nights at the Hyatt, the Grand Hyatt down the road. So do you want to talk about, I'll talk about some of the bus ones that I like. Because
Yeah.
when I first started going to Disneyland, I had to be within walking distance. That was my thing. Like, I didn't want to have a car, and I wanted to be within walking distance. I didn't have to drive and park. Then I started branching out a little bit and try, because I had points that I wanted to use and I couldn't stay as close anymore. And so I started branching out and discovered that riding the bus is not so bad because they come every 15 minutes. And it is Anaheim Transit, but it's just the Disney Resort and then the hotels. And so they don't stop at like the public stops along the way. Really easy to do. You download the app, buy your pass. And then I found some that actually have their own transportation and shuttles. So let's talk about a few of those. In the convention area, there's a Hilton. There's a Marriott right there. Marriott is how I say it. I don't know how everyone says it. I say it Marriott. Some people say Marriott.
Yeah, it's
That's
not my
another
favorite
discussion.
chain, so we'll take it however you can say it.
And there's a Clarion, I believe, right there as well, right on the Anaheim Convention Way. And they're nice. They're very nice. You can either walk. It's about just over a mile from these hotels to walk to the front gate, or you can take the bus. Like I said, you can take the ART, is what it's called. A little bit further down the road. Oh, right in that area is also there's a Hyatt. Then a little further down the road is the Hyatt. Not Grand California. the Hyatt Regency.
Yeah, Hyatt
We
Regency,
call
Orange
it
County.
H
Yeah.
Rock. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's Hyatt Regency Orange County. And our friend Molly named it H Rock. So that's what we call it. And you can get good rates there as well. It's also a convention center. So if there's a convention going on, the rates go up to $300-$400 a night. But if there's nothing going on there, then you can get rates really low, like 150. Like I said, they do have transportation that goes direct to the parks from their hotel. It's $6 a day. So you have to scan their QR code, get in the app, buy the $6 a day per person. But then it goes back and forth every 30 minutes. It's really easy. It drops you off right in front. So where all of the Disney buses go in that area, that's where the employees get dropped off. That's where this bus drops off. So I love that one a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah, when I think about Disneyland, because of my day job, I earn a lot of points. And so, like you, I'm always looking for cheap rooms. What I typically find with hotels in and around the Disneyland area is once you get busier into the peak seasons, the points price aligns with the cash price more closely, which can be a little bit frustrating to find great deals. So when you think about the three major chains, Hilton, Marriott, Hyatt, they all have award rooms, all within walking distance of the park. And to your point, a bunch of them that are easy bus access. From a high level standpoint, we'll start with Hilton. I thinking, 50 to 70,000 points a night is what you're going to look at for an award room there. And most of the Hiltons around the park are decent. There's a couple that I've stayed at that are, probably in need of a renovation. On the Marriott side of things, a little bit of a wider variety in terms of quality of rooms. You've got the really nice JW Marriott there, and then you have a bunch of limited service properties like the Four Points Sheraton and things like that. Similar point range, 40,000 points a night, and some of the lower end properties all the way up to 70 or 80,000 points a night for the JW Marriott. JW also has a view of the fireworks from the roof, so that can be a fun little addition. I tend to be a big fan of the Hyatt program, and one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of the Hyatt program is specifically because of the properties that are around Anaheim. You have three hotels. You've got the Hyatt Regency Orange County, which you talked about, H Rock, which has two things going for it. One is great breakfast if you have elite status.
Yes.
You can get a full breakfast before you go to the parks, which saves you a bunch of money. Easy bus to get to the parks. And then they also lean into the fact that it is a theme park property, even though, as you said, it is a convention center property. So they have bunk bedrooms and some other unconventional bedding options for larger families that can save you some money. Hyatt Place and Hyatt House, a lot closer to Disneyland.
Yeah.
Big clutch here for all three properties. If you're familiar with the Hyatt program, is all three, as of time of recording, are category 4 on their award chart. They're one of the few chains that still keeps an award chart. Why is that important? Well, if you hold their credit card or you earn elite status, the popular free night certificates that you get with those credit cards or with your elite status are capped at category 4. And so that means that if the price on those hotels goes up $300, $400, $500 a night, it doesn't matter. Your category 4 certificate is still going to get you a free night at that hotel if they have a regular room available. Now, sometimes the properties play games with what is a premium room and what's a standard room and stuff like that. But suffice it to say that I've used my category 1 to 4 certificates at the Anaheim properties and gotten some of the best value for those certificates of anywhere I've used them in the world.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Maybe we should mention your other podcast here. In case people want to listen to that to learn how they can get some points, right?
Yeah, if you want to talk nerdy point stuff with us, Miles to Go podcast is where you can find us. But I mean, there's easily 25 properties that you can redeem points at or in and around the parks. And I mentioned the big 3 brands, but you mentioned Clarion. There's a number of choice hotels. There are Wyndham properties. There are Best Western properties. And, when I think about some of those other hotel chains, you say like there are a lot of Wyndham and Best Western properties that that aren't necessarily in a great state of repair, worldwide. And while I won't say that the rooms around Disneyland are like the best of the best, I think because they're so busy, they sort of have to have a basic level of maintenance on all the rooms because they're just always full. And so while I typically find like, maybe furniture dents or chips and paint and stuff like that, even at like the Wyndhams and some of the higher level Best Westerns, I don't find bad rooms. They're just okay rooms. And
Yeah.
if it's going to be $300 a night, being able to save that money using points really helps you afford being able to go to Disneyland more than you might otherwise be able to go.
100%. I totally agree. And that's why I'm always using my points, is because I get to go a lot more often
Yeah.
when I use my points. And so there is a good value there. I did want to mention, though, you had mentioned some of the hotels in the area. There is a nice Marriott on Convention Way. I've used my certificates there before. I've been able to get night stays there for 32,000 points. It's a really
That's
nice
great.
hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great deal for redemptions there. And if you're platinum, they do have an executive lounge, or titanium, either of those levels. They do have an executive lounge and free breakfast on the weekends if you have that level of status. But it's free breakfast there is very different from some of the other hotels. It's a full sit-down breakfast in their restaurant with a really nice buffet made to order, eggs, waffles, all of that stuff. But the other hotels along the area, they do have free breakfast too, like the Hyatt's right there on Harbor Boulevard.
Free breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know how much you're going to want to eat it either.
Yeah, I would say
some are better than others.
Yeah, we've done both Hyatt House and Hyatt Place in the past 6 months, and like it's all perfectly fine, but it's a little bit of a factory. The properties are very busy with people that are going to the parks. They're so close to the parks that it's almost all park goers. Whereas, to your point with Hyatt Regency, it's sort of a split between convention and park, and it can be a little quiet when there's not a big convention. So if you come down during peak breakfast hours in any of these limited service properties, it's not just the Hyatts, but the Hyatts are the ones I stay at the most. There's going to be a line for breakfast. There might be some empty chafing dishes. They're going to be cranking people through from a food standpoint, a little hard to find a table. Like it's, there's some friction there to get your breakfast.
Yeah, for sure.
And I would say, I'm trying to think, we were at Hyatt House last time you guys met us. And I think we did the same thing both days we were there, which was we just walked over to the Starbucks that was a few feet further away because we didn't really want to wait in the line for the free breakfast. So, definitely options. Breakfast at Starbucks wasn't super expensive and was, quick and got us into the park on time. But I think, at least from my standpoint, one of the reasons why I lean towards things like Hyatt House or some of the other limited service Marriott and Hilton brands in that area is plenty of pharmacies / like the Walgreens, CVS's, where if you're not driving in, which obviously, me living in Virginia, I'm not driving in, you're generally flying in from Arizona. You can pick up a case of bottled water. You can pick up some breakfast snacks. You can pick up stuff to eat in your room or take with you. And having a refrigerator or a cooktop in your room, great way to save money on these sorts of vacations.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree. I do love stopping into those for my soda or snacks, all of those things. I love once they built those. I don't remember how long it was when they built those, but they weren't there always, obviously. No. And it was sad because I couldn't get things that I wanted. There were just a few little mom and pop shops along the way that were always very expensive, but these are great. And they have a Walgreens and a CVS right across the street from each other, so you can pick your favorite.
So I'm curious, as somebody who goes to Disneyland a lot more than I do, and knowing that a lot of these hotels are very close to the parks, I'm curious how many times you find yourself going back to the hotel during the day, either to take a break or to change clothes for the evening or what have you. Are you an all-day park goer once you're there at Disneyland, or do you find yourself going back to the hotel throughout the day?
See, I don't know how to answer this. Now, having a pass has changed the way I do Disney, right? When I didn't have a pass, I would go from rope drop until close because I wanted to maximize the value of being there for 3 days.
Yeah.
And the cost of being there for 3 days. But now that I have a pass, I don't worry about that as much. I know I'm coming back.
Right.
Usually not very far away. So I do take naps. I love having a nap in the middle of the day, especially if there's going to be, a show or fireworks, or we're going to try and stay late. So I often do find myself heading back to the room a lot, almost every day, at least once. This last trip, even, with everything that we were doing, our last day, we got up early, did rope drop. We were in the park for 3 hours. There was a new breakfast that I wanted to try, a Bengal barbecue. And we did things for 3 hours. We went back and and rested in the hotel room for several hours and then hit it again at night. So that's the nice thing about having a pass is you can make those choices.
Yeah, my kids aren't quite old enough to tolerate me taking them out. My daughter is, she's college age. My son still kind of wants to go until the lights go out, whether that's his lights because he runs out of energy or the park lights. Yeah, but usually it's a hard stop. All of a sudden he just turns around like, I'm tired, Dad. It's time to go. Can I let you in
Yeah.
on a little bit of a guilty secret of mine of like one thing I want to try and I'm almost a little scared to try it at Disneyland?
What? What? I'm so curious.
I kind of want to stay at the Candy Cane Inn.
Oh, people love the Candy Cane Inn. Yeah.
I'm really curious that and the Castle Inn across the street. So for folks that don't know, and I'm as a hotel guy, I'm fascinated by this, and we'll probably go down a rabbit hole on it at some point in the future. But
Yeah.
the Candy Cane Inn is this cute's probably not the right word, but this
It's
quaint
cute.
little
Yeah. Okay, quaint. Quaint's better. You're right. Quaint's better.
two-story, drive up motel, straight out of the 70s sort of
Yeah.
property that I remember staying at when I was a kid, except it's literally right next to Disneyland. I mean, like you're like in the parking lot of God, it's not Towers of Terror, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's super close. And it's this interesting mix of cute and nostalgic and ghetto all just mixed up in one big candy cane.
Yeah. And what I love about it at night, it's really gorgeous at night because with the lighting that they've put up, it's
Yeah.
gorgeous. But I have heard a lot of really good things about the Candy Cane Inn. I've been a little nervous always to try it, but people rave about it. I always stick with the brands. I
Yeah.
use my points and I know what I'm going to get usually.
Yeah.
So, but I'm right there with you. So maybe we'll have to get one of our group trips and have it. I don't know. I don't want to try the Castle Inn. I've not heard as many good things about it as I have the
The
Candy Cane.
the Castle Inn does not have any quaintness to it. It really does just look ghetto.
Yeah.
It sort of reminds me of Excalibur in Vegas, which is a hotel that I've stayed in that I will never, ever stay in again. That was a one-time check it off the list and like we're good to go.
Yeah. My kids always wanted to stay at the Castle Inn
Mhm.
and would beg and have always felt so deprived that I would never stay there with them.
Maybe they'll
'Cause it
get to
looks
that
like a
age where they thank
castle.
you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm still learning that I think would be helpful to talk about folks with is just how to navigate security if you're off-site. I've had some interesting tips that people have given me about whether you go for a parking lot shuttle or which entrance you go in, but people have options, and I think a lot of people probably gravitate to what I would call the quote unquote main entrance, where the bus loop is, and sometimes that's not the best choice.
Yeah. If you're driving in and parking in one of the parking lots, there's security there, and so that's where you do it. You don't have a choice. If you're walking in, then most people do go to Harbor Boulevard, the security right off of Harbor Boulevard, because that's really the only place to go. There is Pixar parking lot down the street, so if you're close in the convention center area, it's usually shorter lines there. But as Ed and I found out one day when I was telling him and raving about how short the lines were there,
I remember this.
I have never seen ever lines for security as long as we saw at Pixar parking lot on Monday. Toy Story parking lot. I think it's Toy Story parking lot. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
So your best bet of where they're going to be truly staffed really well is going to be Harbor. When I've gone the last few times, they've really had it staffed really well. You do need to keep your eyes out because I've noticed they've added more stalls. So it used to be that you had just the stall straight on. You could go to your left or your right. They've added more and they've curved it a little bit and there's someone hidden back there. So there will be 2 stalls on one side. And so you keep your eyes open, because a lot of times those on the opposite side, the second side or the second stall, don't have lines at all. And there will be longer lines for the other stalls. So yeah, keep your eyes open. When you approach security, one of the things that you want to do is make sure that you've got your bag open and out and unzipped and ready to go. Everything has to come out. If you have a stroller, everything has to come out of the bottom of your stroller. All bags have to be unzipped and searched. They'll take things out of your bags. They'll be searched. Before you hit security, there are explosives detecting dogs that go through, and other types of sniffing dogs. But I just heard them say one day when it alerted on someone that it was an explosives detecting dog. So, yeah, you just walk through, but have everything ready to go. It'll make it faster for you and for all of the people behind you as well. They do have the little bins like the airport, where you drop your cell phone, anything that you don't want to go through the metal detector with, and you put that in there. You set your bag down. They'll have you wait until they're done searching your bags. Then they'll push all of your stuff through, and then you walk through. They'll tell you to go through. And then you gather up all your stuff, and they won't start searching the next person until you've gathered up and moved.
So on top of the parking lots, which, as Steph said, can be a hack during some of the busier times, and the main entrance on Harbor Boulevard, if you're more of a walker, one of the things you can consider at really peak times at Harbor Boulevard is the entrance that's over behind Grand Californian. So I did just map this while we were talking. It's about 0.4 of a mile from our Hyatt house at the corner of Harbor Boulevard and Catella to get to that Harbor Boulevard entrance, that main security entrance. If you were to zip around the other way, you're looking at pretty much a mile. It's 0.9 of a mile to the Grand Californian, and then you have to walk from there actually to the front entrance, whether you're going into California Adventure or Disneyland. So you're adding another half mile of walking, which, for some folks may be too much. But if you are a fast walker, you might find the lines are shorter on the other side, for what is probably an extra 10 minutes of walking to get there. As I recall, reasonably shaded on Catella as you walk. There are some trees, and so it's not horrible, brutal sun like it is on Harbor Boulevard, because I've walked from the Hyatt Regency to Harbor Boulevard way back in the day. But, something to think about on certain days in the parks.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really good idea, recommendation. It's just a gamble. You just don't know for sure where you're going to find the lighter crowd. Though that entrance right there, it's right by the Disneyland Hotel and the hotel guests there. So Disneyland Hotel uses that entrance. Some Pixar sometimes will, but it's usually, you're right, it's usually probably going to be lighter. But you just never.
No, and you're obviously you're building in an extra 10 minutes of walking on a day where you're probably already going to be doing a lot of walking.
Yeah, for sure.
Look, I mean, it's for folks who are always Disney World attendees, somebody like me who we're almost always at Disney World. It's a little bit foreign to think about the fact that you're staying off site, but that's really the reality of Disneyland in California, is that staying on site comes at a significant premium. Doesn't necessarily have all the same benefits. Early entry is, certainly valuable, but doesn't necessarily have all the same benefits that you might get at Disney World. And I would just say, even though I think all of the properties are cute in their own respect, actually, I don't even know, did the lighted headboard survive the Disneyland hotel renovation?
I don't think it did. I don't know for sure.
That was a cool little thing.
I think they've got something else in there, but I don't think it's the castle and everything.
So there are cute little things. Grand Californian certainly has the feel of being right in the park, and you've got the trees and the monorail coming through and all that, and Pixar with its new theming. But the properties aren't anywhere nearly as deeply themed as some of the properties at Disney World. So they're all beautiful. They're all fun, whimsical. But you really are paying a premium in most cases to be on site, when being outside the gates can be a lot more affordable and really not be that much of a trade down in room quality.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree with you on all of that, for sure.
All right. Well, we've also got a full download on Walt Disney World hotels, which gets a little bit more complicated. We hope that you guys will watch that one as well when you get a moment for your next big trip to Florida to come experience the joy that is Walt Disney World and all the humidity you can handle in Florida.
For
now,
sure.
I am Ed Pizza.
I'm Steph Sweets. Catch us at the castle.